Hey everybody, it's a rainy Florida Friday afternoon. Um, Hope the National went well for everyone. I did not go, but I have a few pickups that I'm going to share that I've made over the last 3 or 4 weeks through various sources. I figure I'd share them with you. A lot of football, some basketball. I don't think I have any baseball here. But before I get started on that, have y'all been getting ads in like your Instagram streams or things like that for these 3D printed containers that hold trading card supplies like card savers, top loaders, sleeves, whatever it might be, and you can buy them online, and I don't even know how much you're selling for, if they're 10 or 20 bucks. I see them and I just wonder, it's like, why buy one of those when there's so many other options out there that work really well? And I'm just going to share a couple that I think are awesome, and they are they're not antiques, I guess. It depends how you view antiques. But if you want to do something to hold some supplies and keep them organized, go get you a cheese box. These come in 2 pounds and 5 pound sizes. I use 5 pound sizes for this. You can see I keep a whole bunch of like empty sleeves or in here. You can typically pick these suckers up at like any sort of antique store or something like that. I want to say maybe all in, I got these for under like 20 bucks, even with shipping. I like the rabbit joint on these bad boys. I thought the title of this one was pretty nice. I'm storing card supplies in a cheese brand that was called High Grade. I figure that's sort of an aspirational branding there, but these are really sweet. You can buy them pretty regularly, and there's that. And if you want this nice little darker, richer color here, you can get something like this. Again, these are nailed in, and you can hold any supplies here. I got like another one of these, like 3 in a row, just sort of lined up, holding supplies. Go get you some cheese boxes for your supplies. Don't sweat buying some plastic stuff. You can usually pick these up pretty cheap. The colors are really nice and rich. I dig them. Anyway, let's do some pickups. For whatever reason, mid to late 70s basketball jag, and I'm not sure why. I mean, it harkens back to my youth and what I followed, and maybe some of it is, well, the world is zigging to everything with Michael Jordan in it, and I love basketball. I'm just zagging, and I'm not a modern collector, so I'm sort of gravitating to certain things. So the first pickup I have, and these are sort of like spur of the moments as much as anything, is this 1978 Topps Moses Malone in an 8. It's really interesting to see like post players are just getting no love at all, it seems, within the hobby. It's all about wings. It's all about your 2 guards and your small forwards. But post players, like, it began and ended with them. As awesome as the Sixers were in those 70s, they could never get over the hump until they went and got this big guy, Moses. And that's what really got him over the hump. So this is one from 1978. Dirt cheap right here, even in a recently graded 8. So there's that one. And I've got another basketball card, a 1978 Kareem in an 8. A little more expensive than the Moses, but not significantly more. Bang on centered. I do like the style of this card a lot, for whatever reason. It's got that sort of 1963, 1983 Topps baseball vibe with the circle, but just the style here. This is a very 70s sort of feel to it. Interesting to see Kareem as a second team All-Star. I'm not sure who the first team All-Star was. Maybe it was Artis Gilmore. Except Artis Gilmore was playing for the Bulls here, so that's not in the West. It's probably Walton, is my guess. This is after what Walton had won the championship in '77, so Bill Walton was probably the first team from this year. But here's the Kareem in that set, and so what 1978 top set. What are the big rookies in this set? None of them are real expensive. It's going to be your Dennis Johnson. Think of Hall of Famer types. Dennis Johnson, Jack Sikma, I think Walter Davis, and Bernard King. Probably Bernard King, who that's probably the biggest card. I mean, I don't know how many people below the age of 35 really know how great Bernard King was. That guy was a killer in the early to mid 80s. In 84, I mean, that guy was throwing up seemingly 40 a night, back to back to back to back, and with two broken thumbs. At the same, scoring that much with two broken thumbs when he was playing for the Knicks back then. So building on this basketball vibe, I picked up this 1984 Star Dr. J. So I mentioned Star basketball in a previous video of mine. Star, there was no set in 1982 at all, no basketball at all. There was the 81 set that came out, and then no set at all that was printed in 82. There were a number of cards printed by Star. Star got the license in 83, relatively short printed. I don't even think there were 1,000 cards of each card printed. So this was the year before the Michael Jordan 101 card. So the Michael Jordan 101 is this set, but the 83 set has, let's say, Magic Johnson's third card. There's a Larry Bird card in there. Larry Bird's probably the most expensive card. Dominique, I believe. Yeah, Dominique Wilkins, his rookie is in that set. But that's the 83, and then Dr. J is the number one card. It's white. So this is the second year card of the 84, and so here's the Dr. J card. It's still in this bag. I picked it up on eBay, so it's still got the eBay authenticity. I haven't pulled it out as of yet. I'm not looking to sell it, but is an ear mint. Highest grade from PSA with this card is an 8. There are no 9s. So this is one step down. I don't know what's going on with Star basketball. I think Star basketball across the board is riding a halo, has a halo effect all around it because of the Jordan 101 card and some of the other Jordan cards of those other Jordan Star cards that are just exploding. But these are seemingly benefiting from that right now. So, but I love Doc. Obviously trying to fill in his set and get his run. So I've got the 83. This is the 84. In spite of it saying 85, this is the 84. I still have to get the 85. The 85 is significantly cheaper than the 83. This a bit cheaper than the 83. But filling that set, obviously I've got some of Doc's first few year cards I still have to score. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. So I also picked up this 1976 Topps All-Star card. So this is that tall boy set. I shared the regular issue Doc that I picked up in a couple videos ago, along with the Kareem. This is his All-Star card. Again, comes out in this is obviously part of that tall boy set. Big slab, very sort of comic book print on the back. If any of you, this does almost sort of, this print here reminds me of that, the famous Converse ad of him going, I believe it's Converse, of him going to the playground. That was in a lot of magazines of that era. But this is that All-Star card. So I'm trying to chase the Kareem All-Star card. There's not a significant rookies in here. David Thompson is a rookie in this set. The biggest cards I think in this are going to be this card, the Kareem, the Maravich. Those are the biggest cards in this set. And these are small sets. I believe these are only 132 cards in the set. And I think the 1978 set maybe has like 175 or so. Unlike the football sets of that era where there were like 500 plus cards in a set for some sets once you got into, especially like 1976 football where there's like almost 600 cards. Basketball always had a pretty limited print run. So last three I'm going to show, this was an eBay pickup from probably a month ago, is this 1965 top Winston Hill. So Winston Hill, this is sort of the chase of the NFL Hall of Fame rookies that I'm going after. And this is 1965 tops. So a lot of times people see this with the yellow background and New York across the top. And if you were just to show this much of the card, and that is the Joe Namath rookie out of this set. Well, Winston Hill, when Joe Namath and the Jets beat the Colts in 1970 in the Super Bowl, Winston Hill was the starting tackle on that team. And he was pretty much a stalwart for the Jets through much of the 70s, or 60s going into the 70s. And I want to say he was elected in the Hall of Fame posthumously, maybe 2020. But great offensive lineman, Texas Southern grad, probably, arguably the best player to come out of Texas Southern before Michael Strahan showed up in the league. Ken Burrow played for Texas Southern, who was a rock solid, couple-time Pro Bowl receiver who went to Texas Southern, but I'd say Winston Hill is probably number 2 of the best players to come out of Texas Southern. Best player this side of Michael Strahan. These are really challenging. I would say these 65 tops are really challenging to find centered and to find in good condition. The tall boy nature of it all makes it challenging. I am really happy to find this in a 7. A 7 for a card like this for me is a fantastic grade. Not easy to find these. So there's Winston Hill. So next are 2 pickups I made at the most recent CIA auction. So I'm probably going to be publishing this right as the August CIA auction kicks off. So these are my pickups from the CIA auction in July. So I made 2 pickups. Again, football. This is 1963 tops Deacon Jones. This was before, before he became known as Deacon, he was known as Dave. And he is most known as playing for the Rams. He was on the Rams here. That Rams defensive line in the mid to late 60s, known as the Fearsome Foursome. And let's see if I can name them all. It was Deacon Jones, obviously, Merlin Olsen, Utah State great, Lamar Lundy, probably a really good player, but probably the least well-known or not the strongest, and Rosie Greer, who started his career with the Giants, but then moved over to the LA Rams. And so that was that defensive line, which was probably the first real, name brand defensive line. I'm a big Colts guy being from there, and people talk about that defensive line. I think that defensive line the Rams had might have been the first to truly get a serious nickname. I don't think the Purple People Eaters really got their name until maybe a few years later. And obviously this is 15 plus years before the New York Sack Exchange or the Steel Curtain or whatever else it might be. I'm probably wrong. There were probably other defenses that had sort of nicknames that stuck, but the Fearsome Foursome, pretty tough Pretty tough nickname. But that's a Deacon Jones. I picked that up in a 7 through CIA. These can be really challenging just because, the edges and corners can chip. Once you get to this sort of grade, and this is true with the Hill and the next card I'm going to show you, prices can remain okay at this level, but as soon as you start jumping up into 8s, they can quickly get out of control. Not unlike when I picked up the Maze a while back, where it's at this one price, but as soon as you take that next step up in grade / eye appeal, you could be looking at double the price or more of the card, and I'm good for what I'm doing here. Again, centering is not perfect top to bottom, and because of the colors here, this is pretty challenging. 1963 Topps, probably the toughest card. The most well-known card in this set is the Bob Lilly. Rookie, I think that's a short print. That is probably going to be the one to set you back the most, unless it's like a blistering Jim Brown or something like that. The Lilly card, in my eyes, is probably the big get there. And again, depending how you feel about Unitas, a high grade Unitas, which I think was the first card in the set, can go for in the 4 figures as well. High grade being like 8-ish or higher, but really happy with this. It's another card off the checklist. And then finally, my last pickup is, a card that I have been on the lookout for, whatever. And it's not an uncommon card, but to find one graded, find one centered that looked good. And it is this 1957 Night Train Lane. So Dick Lane, let me zoom in a little bit here. Dick Lane, what can you say about this guy? Well, as it relates to the set, not even one of the top 2 or 3 rookies, in the 1957 set, maybe the third. The biggest ones, Bart Starr, Unitas. Dick Lane's probably 3 in the rookie realm. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone or missing someone, but Starr and Unitas are probably the biggest ones in that set. I love this set. Dick Lane, in the military, was working, I want to say he was like sort of working, he might have been working in the defense industry, just working at a shop somewhere after having left the military. And he played football in the military. And he walked into the LA Rams to try out for the team in 1952. Came with some of his, I think the story is he came with some of his press clippings and walked in and said, hey, give me a tryout. The Rams tried him out. They said, sure. And they took him on the team. And I want to say his first season right out the gate, in a 12-game season, he intercepts 14 passes and still has I believe he still has a single season record for the most interceptions in a season. He kind of changed the game of football for defensive backs, corners there. The NFL films, obviously he was out of the league well after. He was in the league well before I was even born. But if you ever watch the NFL films of this guy, he was. There would be nothing about his style of play today that would be legal today. Known for the clothesline, would always tackle people by the head. Just ultra aggressive attack. Not unlike Deacon Jones, who never really got hurt much. He always said what he sort of credited to his never getting hurt was attack. And Dick Lane attacked all the time. This shows him playing for the Cardinals. He was with the Rams, but then he moved on to the Chicago Cardinals. And if you collect his cards, I believe there is like an All-American set that he's in. It's a pretty obscure set. I need to find out more. I'd love to find that card. It's from 1955. it might be that set might be a multi-sport set. I think Bob St. Clair is in that set as well. And I think, and I don't want to speak out of school, there might be like a college era Bill Russell card in that set. And so, but Dick Lane is in that set as well. But this is his first major issue, widely considered to be his rookie card. I could not do better on centering than this card in condition. And again, for a price point here, once you can get up to about a 7, once you jump to an 8, I want to say there were 8s and 8.5s that popped on eBay that I want to say went for 3 to 5 times more than what I paid for this 7. And I'm just not going to find better centering, certainly for the money, than what this offers. I guess there's a little bit of like a fisheye there, maybe. But I mean, this is just an incredible example. When I saw CIA had this out, you know, there's a lot of like graded and raw versions on there that don't have sort of like the centering that this one has. And I saw this and I felt like what I paid for it, I just got a fantastic deal. Again, he's had 7 interceptions. He never exceeded the 14 interceptions he had in his first season. But Dick Lane, really excited to get this card. That chase of 1957 rookies is starting to really broaden out. Not broaden out. It's coming down to the last couple big ones, and obviously I need the Unitas and the Star. And you know, the story with the Unitas is a speculation that card is triple printed, so it's very widely available and generally cheaper than the Star because of its general availability. But Dick Lane for the win. So I will be in touch with y'all soon. I'm going to try to hit a card show on the other coast this weekend. And if I got some pickups there, I'll share them later down the line. I do have a couple big cards that I picked up coming in over the next few weeks, and I'll be really excited to share those. One is like a serious grail, but it's coming, and we'll talk soon. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. See ya.